Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Delete as necessary. Today we are talking about 2.9, the lattice method of multiplication. Our objective is to review and provide practice with the lattice method for multiplication of whole numbers and decimals. And as we'll go through, you'll see that the lattice method actually has some advantages over a long multiplication when you're dealing with decimals particularly. So let's go ahead and get started. So our first example, well, first of all, you've been doing lattice since third grade, so a lot of this is going to be review and is going to be pretty straightforward. So you don't need to take notes on this. You'll do one of the journal pages instead. Okay. So you just go ahead and watch and listen and refer back to the video as you need to. Okay, so lattice multiplication. The first thing we need to do is we need to set up our lattice, so our little grid to do the multiplying. So we have 8 times 274, so we got 274 and 8, and then we need to make our boxes. Oops, I ran over the 8. Let's fix that. Alright, and so let's divide. Oop. Here I am trying to erase with my finger, and I have to hit the erase button. Oh, I still have the erase button. Mr. Shanto! Alright, sorry about this. Alright. I'm not giving myself a whole lot of space. Try to make your lines even, because the more even and spaced out you do this with, the fewer mistakes you'll make. Alright, so the first thing we need to start with is we need to start with 4 and 8, multiplying 4 times 8. So we put, which 4 times 8 is 32. The top box gets the larger place value. Oh, Mr. Shanto. There. Okay. And make sure my numbers are clean so I don't get confused about what I'm multiplying and adding. Now I need to do 7 times 5, which is 56. So the 5 goes in the top section of the box and the 6 goes in the bottom. 2 times 8 is 16, so 1 and 6. And now all I need to do is add. Well, there's nothing to add to 2, so I just bring down the 2. I have 3 plus 6 equals 9. 5 plus 6 equals 11. And I carry a little 1, and I have 1 plus 1 is 2. So my answer is 2,192. Next example, 67 times 45. A little different when you have two-digit numbers, when you're multiplying two-digit numbers rather than just multiplying single-digit numbers. So let's see if I can make a better box than I did last time. I have to multiply 45 and then draw my diagonals. Okay. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 5 is 35. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. Now, one of the things I want you to be aware of is I didn't have to do, I'm just doing my basic math facts with lattice. That's one of the advantages it has. I'm doing 7 times 4 and 6 times 4 rather than 67 times 4 and 67 times 5. I'm not doing that. I'm doing just the basic math facts. I don't have to memorize larger numbers. I'm multiplying only single-digit numbers. So one big advantage there that lattice has over long multiplication. And the same thing for partial products. Okay? Okay, so now, all right, so we're looking at the basic math facts. That has a definite advantage. All right, let's go back to adding. All right, so there's nothing to add to the 5, so I just change my pen, bring down the 5. 8 plus 3 plus 0 is 11, so I just have my 1 there, carry my 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 plus 3 is 10. Carry my 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. So I end up with 3,015. Okay? So here's the next big advantage that lattice has over long multiplication when you're multiplying decimals, because it lines things up for you in a way that's actually pretty neat, at least according to me. So let's write our numbers. So I have 3 7/10 times 4 2/10. So 4.2 times 3.7. It's critical that we're not ignoring our decimal points like we did with partial products. Okay, so let's do our basic math facts. So 2 times 3. Okay, well that's 6 in the ones and nothing is in the tens. Okay, 4 times 3, well I have a 2 in the ones and a 1 in the tens. 2 times 7, 14. 4 times 7, 28. Okay, now I bring down my 4. I add 6 plus 1 plus 8 in the diagonal. So 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 8 is 15. And to carry my 1, 1 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 equals 5. Nothing to carry. And I bring down my 1. Now, get a new color. And let's make it a little thicker so you can see. This is with a brilliance that I think lattice has when you're multiplying decimals, because all you have to do is locate your decimal, which is right here between the 4 and the 2, and draw a straight line down each box one at a time, one box at a time. And then you drag your line over for the other decimal until those two lines meet and intersect. Okay, so they met at that one particular point. Once they meet in the middle of your lattice somewhere, you then draw on the diagonal down, and that spot is where your decimal point goes in the number. So we have 3.7 times 4.2, or 3 7/10 times 4 2/10 equals 15.54. So that right there is another advantage that lattice has, is that it's easier to place your decimal point. Okay. Let's look at one. Oh, no. Big idea. What is our big idea? So the big idea for the lesson is the lattice method of multiplication has a number of benefits over long multiplication. The lattice method of multiplication is an easy way to multiply large numbers because it relies entirely on the memorization of the basic math facts. The lattice method grid automatically locates the placement of the decimal point in the number. All you have to do is draw your lines, and then you know straight up and down or left and right until they meet, and then on the diagonal takes you right to where the decimal point goes. Very simple, very straightforward. Okay. Another thing is, if you're interested in lattice and like, Mr. Shanto, long multiplication is better. Well, then do some research into lattice and see how old it is and where it comes from. Long multiplication is more recent and a lot more complicated, and it's a lot easier to make mistakes. So that's something that I think lattice has many different benefits over long multiplication. So when we get to the test, I do not expect you to do lattice or partial products solely. I want you to understand them. But when you do your multiplication and you say, I am much more comfortable doing long multiplication, that's fine. I'm very comfortable with that, but I want you to understand how lattice works, and I want you to understand how partial products work. Okay? All right, that's it for today. So go ahead and do Math Journal, page 55 as your evidence. All right, and I will see you tomorrow in class.